Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Susan and my channel name is Susan's Life with ALS. I have ALS. So today I'd like to talk about what is ALS. I get so many questions out in the small area of the community that I go, and so many people don't know what ALS is, and I have to say, oh, well, it's Lou Gehrig's disease, and then they have a little bit of an idea, but really not what ALS is. ALS is fairly rare. 90% of the cases are sporadic, which means it can just choose anybody. I always think that why couldn't I have just won the lottery instead, and not have been one of the very few people that gets diagnosed every year. And I got diagnosed with ALS. So, ALS, and I'll be using a lot of notes, and I do have my computer next to me so that I can give you some medical terms and then explain what that means. So, ALS is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. And well, no wonder they call it ALS. That's really hard to say. So what it is a progressive neurodegenerative disease. It affects nerve cells in the brain that control voluntary movement, such as walking, talking, chewing, swallowing, moving your fingers, moving your arms. It's not a paralysis as people think of paralysis. Sure, what will happen is I won't be able to move, but the sensation will still be there. I'll be able to feel something like that, or fire or anything, but I won't be able to move. So voluntary movement comes from a part of your brain called the motor cortex, and that is located in the rear portion of the frontal lobe. So when you think of a brain, it looks like it's all one piece, but it's different lobes, separated by a thing called a sulcus, which is a furrow or a trench, or I don't know what I want to call it, between these different lobes. So the motor cortex is near the back of the frontal lobe, and then it's really close to the parietal lobe. So people with ALS usually retain ability to perform higher mental processes such as reasoning, remembering, understanding, and problem solving. Thus, lucky us, we are fully aware of our bodies deteriorating, losing function. We're fully aware of that. Every day is a new day. You have to figure life out. It's really hard. So I'll get into a little bit about the motor neurons, and what those are. Your brain sends signals to your spinal cord, and then the spinal cord has all these branches that come off. Just a minute, my notes fell on the floor. Has all these branches that go to the different areas in your body. They can be extremely, get in the frame here, extremely long. And they are ones, and that is considered one neuron cell. So it gets interrupted for some unknown reason. Nobody knows the cause of ALS or the, why people get it. All kinds of theories, but nobody knows why. So the signals from your brain are the ones that tell you that you can talk, that you can swallow, that you can breathe, believe it or not, that you can move your arm, that you can move your legs, you can move your toes, your fingers. And in ALS, that gets interrupted, and then eventually the nerve, the movement part of the nerve dies. So you lose function, but you don't lose sensation. So, let's see, what else do I want to talk about here? Got that. Okay, the early stages of ALS usually are things like you can get muscle twitching anywhere, not like that thing you can get like under your eyebrow or under your eye, you know. No, these are in your leg, just a twitch. The muscle is twitching. In your arm, the muscle is twitching. Just things for no reason. You can have difficulty walking, and I certainly have had that. Tripping and falling. I have fallen, I don't know, a rough estimate, probably 50 times. I mean, a lot. And I haven't, luckily, drastically injured myself. Just lucky, but I have to be extremely careful, and I use a walker. I do have leg braces. I have a folding cane that I really love, but if I don't think about every step, I will trip, and it's really hard. You can get weakness, you know, in your legs, feet, ankle before you even know you have ALS, and that certainly was me. Hand clumsiness and hand weakness. I'm not there yet. My ALS started in my legs. Slurred speech, trouble swallowing, talked about the twitching. My experience, and I'll just touch on that a little bit, in 2013 and 2014, I had a couple of surgeries on my left foot. I had avascular necrosis where the bone dies, and opened up this whole can of worms, and it came up being 2 surgeries that I had to have on my left foot. And after that, I couldn't lift the front of my foot, and I attributed that to having had 2 surgeries back to back, 2013, 2014. And not raising any red flags to myself. I did have some physical therapy early on. That was in 2017, beginning of 2017 or so. And it was for my right leg, and I had some sciatica. And in that one of the PT appointments, I did mention to a physical therapist that I couldn't lift the front of my left foot, and it didn't raise any red flags. I do see my primary care physician for physicals every year, and she saw that I had atrophy all the way up my left calf, and she noticed that, said something about it, but it still didn't raise any red flags to anyone. So once I got to towards the last 3 or 4 months of 2018, my husband, probably for the whole year of 2018, kind of had been saying to me, foot drop, because that was my left foot, I couldn't lift it anymore. Foot drop is not normal. Why don't you go get that checked out? And I kept putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. It wasn't impacting my life that much. So September of 2018, I finally did see a neurologist, and she ran a couple of tests, an EMG, which I'll get into talking about that here in a minute, an MRI and some labs. And when I went back to get, the results, she was the one, I was alone at that appointment, and she was the one that said to me, you have ALS. But how she told me was, you have ALS, you have 3 to 5 years to live. After that, I didn't hear anything else she said in that appointment. So then at the beginning of November, I kind of, from September to November, just put it sort of out of my mind. I didn't really believe it. How could I possibly have something so rare? Why was I chosen for that? And just all these thoughts going through my mind. Then, at the beginning of November, I did see an ALS doctor, and she ran a whole bunch of tests. Whoops. Okay. A whole day of tests. And when I went back for the results of that, that was November 27th, 2018, in the afternoon, and my husband went with me, and she gently broke it to me that my results were consistent with ALS. So that's my experience with getting a diagnosis. Now, ALS is a progressive disease, and once it progresses to a muscle, it can't get better. It just keeps getting worse, and it never goes away. So any kind of exercise that you do is good for your mind and good for keeping flexibility, helping your remaining muscles to stay strong. So I highly recommend that. ALS can vary in individuals, and I think on this channel I have talked about some statistics about survival rates. See if I can try to remember them. The average life expectancy is 3 to 5 years, but there is a percentage of people that will live past 5 years from diagnosis. And then a small percentage, I think it's 10%, will live over 10 years. And can't predict the future, so you take it a day at a time. Every case, obviously, of ALS is different. I'm going to touch briefly on what an EMG is. Not sure, let's see, electromagnetic, I don't know. But anyway, what they do is hook you up, or there's a machine in the room and you lay on a bed and they poke you with needles that are probes, and they poke you deep enough to go into a nerve and damage it. And if the nerve reacts normally, the wave would be just very small. But if you have ALS, it would fibrillate, and it would do these big spikes and a pause, and more big spikes and a pause that they can see on their machine. And then that is consistent with ALS. And you can even have symptoms that they find in your nerves on EMG before obvious symptoms that you can feel in your body. When I had an EMG, they told me it was in my left leg and my right arm. My right arm is strong and fine. But what I'm finding is the ALS is progressing in my left leg and it has started in my right. So it's just a disease that's hard to predict. If you have questions for me, there's certainly more information that I didn't share here about what ALS is. And if you have any questions, please leave me a comment down below in the comment section, and I answer and respond to every question or comment that I get. So it may take me a while, but I do try to do that. So that's, in a nutshell, what ALS is. It's a mystery, really, to everybody as far as what causes it, why a person gets it, how long you're going to live. Nobody can answer those questions. Research is really important with this disease. So that's everything I'll say in this video. That was kind of hard. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.